Hello, Void. Phibby Rizo here to talk to you once more. And, well, I picked a movie that it's been several years since I've revisited, and it's a fun movie, and Evil Dead 2 recently put me in the mood for it, so Feast. Alright, so Feast is not high art by any means, but it is a fun movie. Alright, it's a horror comedy that definitely doesn't take itself too seriously. Alright, Feast came out in 2005 and was a part of what's known as Project Greenlight. Essentially, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were essentially doing a. It was kind of a to do, and this is the film that got, well, greenlit. And then they ended up. They almost started it, but it instead went to several other people. Okay, so it's one of those stop it if you've heard it before kind of premises of essentially a group of misfits are trapped together in a bar on a remote stretch of road and are besieged by bloodthirsty monsters. So, very basic premise. But this movie definitely makes up for it in execution. It's aware of what it is, and it leans into some of the tropes and pokes fun at a lot of them also. So, an initial, which it doesn't disguise at all. Right away, it starts in with that. It says none of the characters actually really have names. They each get a title card with either a nickname someone gave them or what their occupation is. Like the first character we're introduced for is Bozo. After a lady just bumps into it and says, "Watch it, Bozo." And he's pretty much the stereotypical asshole character. Then you have such guys as Boss Man, Beer Guy, Heroine, and Hero. The things like that just kind of go in. Harley Mom, Hot Wheels, Coach. So it's pretty much they each will pop up with a title card, a little fact about them, and then their life expectancy from the movie. And some of them are very spot on. One character it says will die in 70 minutes, and that's pretty much when that character goes down. But other ones are a little misleading. Life expectancy, a long and healthy life for the character who then later on gets killed, or life expectancy pretty fucking good, and then they die immediately. So they definitely have fun playing around with that. Particularly when with the character of Hero, it's not too much of a spoiler because he doesn't last very long. He's the guy who comes in acting pretty much like the Bruce Campbell type, in Army of Darkness, only to have his ass handed to him very quickly. So, the movie's sense of humor works for me. Especially since, and in those characters, one of them is just Jason Mewes playing himself. Jason Mewes is Jason Mewes. And they do a little bit with that, and it is funny, but personally I would have liked him to stuck around longer in the film. He is criminally underused in this. I get they probably didn't want to overdo the joke, but I would have loved to see him just reacting to more of what was going on. Alright, so. Monsters, they never really explained where they came from. Essentially, a couple that was traveling out in the desert collided with one of them and then fled to the bar, and now they're coming down on it. So the monsters are smart, they're strong, they have some sort of corrosive spit. It's not like acid, but it definitely, one's full of maggots, and two, anyone who gets hit with it gets very sick and starts slowly decaying. But otherwise, the monsters are usually wearing these big animal skins, so you can't really tell what they look like for a long while, which worked well for me to a point. However, once we get more towards the end and the monsters are more revealed, the camera doesn't linger on long enough to get a clear look at what we're dealing with, which I would have liked to have seen them a little bit clearer. Another thing that they kind of poke fun is there's the one really old lady on the there that once things are down, Bozo Prayers goes to her, "Okay, what's going on?" She's like, what do you mean what's going on? It's like, no, she's old. She's hurt. She knows shit, legends and stuff. Okay, spill it. So they try to get the exposition from the old lady character, but she just is like, I just want my drink. Leave me alone. So they kind of poke fun at some of those tropes. Overall, most of the cast is likable, and the unlikable ones you enjoy not liking them. So the chemistry of a lot of characters having this works very well. The characters, despite not having real names and are mostly just archetypes ranked up to 11, are fun to watch. The gore is way over the top in this, and to a fun degree. I appreciate that everything I can think of is done practically, so I do like that. And the film definitely isn't afraid to get dark, as the monsters do get a little bit like the young ones do seem a bit awkwardly promiscuous at points. And the monsters do, as when one of the young ones get killed, pretty much just they bang right there and another monster pops out, so they breed very quickly. And the film doesn't exactly get like too hardcore into like awkward rape territory with the monsters, but with the little monster running around humping random things, it does get close to being very uncomfortable. And there is one part that does perhaps go a little too far, with one woman being used as bait and gets her mouth assaulted. So that part may be a little bit much. But this movie is trying to be a bit much in terms of things. But I don't think it completely crosses the line there, but it definitely toes it at that point. Let's see. Music wasn't anything particularly noteworthy, but nothing really detracted. I liked what I heard, but it wasn't like standout-ish. It's not a soundtrack I'd kick up by any means. Like I said, the lack of appearance from monsters is really my only real complaint here. Otherwise, the film is fun. And I do highly recommend Feast if you haven't seen it. The sequels get even crazier. I will say they're not as tight as the original Feast, but in terms of over the top ridiculousness, they do have number 2 as a sweet spot for me. And I'll probably be showcasing that one in the near future. But if you haven't seen Feast, I do recommend giving it a go. It made a small wave when it came out, but then was kind of largely forgotten, and I think that's a crime. The people I've shown this to, they do tend to like it, so for me, Feast actually gets 8 MacGuffins. It's just the right mixture of over-the-top gore and a great sense of humor, so it's a fun movie, and I do recommend Feast. Alright, all for the second. I've got a couple more on my backlog, a couple more Shudder logs, and then something I just happened to pull up off of Netflix, so get to those soon. Otherwise, see you soon, Void.